Hey everyone, and welcome to the video. And today what we're taking a look at is the battery charger as well as the spare batteries that I've actually chosen to use with my Sony A7S III. So the actual charger is this one here. It's made by a company called Energon, and it basically gives you a dual slot for charging up your batteries. And as you can see there, you have the actual spec for the charger just there. Now, the reason why I actually chose this was basically down to what I was actually using with my GH5. So if I hold up my GH5 charger, what you'll notice is basically these two are identical. Now, originally, obviously this one is made by Power Extra. This is the GH5 charger, and these are the batteries that actually came with the GH5. So with this particular set, it was actually very inexpensive. So this whole set was something like £23 or something. So basically you got like 2 spare batteries and the charger, all for, I can't remember the exact price, but it wasn't much. It was quite cheap. And basically they just kind of click in something like that. And basically what I used to do was, whenever I was using one particular battery, I'll swap it out, I'll put whichever battery I've used on charge, and then I'll basically rotate through them in the right order. So for example, if this was the first one I used, next one I would be using is this one, and then I'd switch back to the original battery. So the main reason I actually chose these particular types of chargers is basically for functionality. So what you actually have is, if we take a look at it just there, you have a micro USB charger, which I've got littered across the whole house. Just behind me, let me see if I can angle it. Yep, just down there we have a wireless charger for the phones, and basically I've never used it in this particular room. So I set up wireless chargers all around the house, and in the room, in my bedroom, I use it. But obviously since getting the iPhone 12, everything that I use is basically MagSafe, so I don't actually make use of the normal standard sort of Qi chargers anymore. So what I was doing with the GH5 was I basically just unplug the wireless charger and put this in its place, and basically same thing again. So just switch out the batteries, charge them up in series, just like that, and basically whichever one I've used, I'll basically rotate that round and put it in my cupboard on that side, and basically I put whichever battery's been used the least at the front and the one that's been used the most at the back, so that way they're all getting even wear. The original Sony charger is good, and from what I've seen, having used it over the last couple of days since I've had the camera, it does actually charge up very fast. But when you've got 3 batteries, I don't really need to worry about it charging quickly. So for that reason, basically what I do is I'll literally just put these on charge at night whenever I've finished with them, or whenever the battery's actually died out, take the spare one, swap it out, and then by the next morning these will be charged. Same thing that I do with my phone. Basically I'm never really too fussed about charging really fast, for the simple reason that basically I'm prepared. So if you have loads of spare batteries, then you don't really need to put pressure on yourself in order to charge everything up fast, which in the long run will obviously benefit the batteries, and basically get more life out of them. The other thing about these particular batteries is, at the moment, they're actually working perfectly with my A7S III. And the main reason for that, I believe, is my camera is still on a firmware version 1.02, and I believe the latest one is 3.01 or something like that. And I believe for the A7 as well as the A7 III as well as the A7S III, as soon as it went to firmware 3.0 or upwards, basically they sort of bricked the cameras on purpose to basically make it so then it brings up a error message. Now the cameras, I believe, still work, so it does actually still record, all your functionality works just fine. They don't have no weird kind of shutdowns or anything like that. But what it does do is it brings up a little prompt at the start. So when you first turn the camera on, it'll bring up a little prompt saying it's not a genuine battery. And the other thing I believe it does is, at the moment, what I get on my screen, and basically I've got it on my MacBook as well as the flip out screen, is I get a sort of icon, a battery icon with 4 bars, sorry. So there's 4 bars diagonally, and what you also get next to that is a percentage. So that's basically your battery percentage. So it gives you a more accurate idea in terms of where your battery's at. Now I believe what happens is when you actually put in the third part, not that one because that's the genuine one, but basically when you put in the third party batteries, it actually gets rid of the battery percentage. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think the bars still actually stay there, so it will actually still show you roughly what sort of battery percentage your battery's got left just through the visuals of the four icons, the four lines, but it doesn't give you an accurate representation with the percentage. Now, having used these over the last couple of days, because I've had these for a couple of days now, I can tell you that these last pretty much the same as the original Sony one. Obviously, having just got the camera, I've literally been going crazy testing out all different modes, literally doing recordings for the sake of doing recordings, just testing different modes and also testing them with Final Cut Pro as well to see how everything reacts and basically what works very quickly. And for me, basically the highest bitrate ones were the best. But yeah, basically they perform exactly the same. I haven't noticed any dip in recording time or anything like that, and I've not had any issues with it either not recording, cutting out, shutting down, anything like that. So performance wise, then obviously I can't see anything wrong with these. This set I believe was around £43. What we'll do is I'll put a link for this down in the description below. I will be updating the camera to the newer firmware as soon as I get a chance. So once that actually happens, if these do bring up the error message, what we'll do is I'll do a follow-up video and I'll actually try and insert a clip in terms of what actually happens. But from what I've been told from other people, it's not a major issue. So yeah, you get a little prompt when you first turn the camera on, you just hit OK to that, and then yeah, you might lose the battery percentage, but most of us generally, especially if you've got obviously three batteries at this point, if it gets down to 1 bar, then you just swap it out and put that on charge and then obviously keep rotating that way. To be perfectly honest, generally with the GH5, whenever it got down to 1 bar, because that didn't actually have the battery percentage, I believe, it literally only had the icon, whenever it got down to 1 bar, I used to swap it out anyway. So just because I didn't know how long I would be making any particular recording. Now with this, obviously I do also have the option of just plugging it in, and it does have power delivery over USB-C, so that is another option that I could actually use. And whenever I'm doing this sort of talking head video in the future, I may actually opt to do that, but at the moment basically I still wanted to see how the batteries perform, hence why I've actually used this on battery power as opposed to using it plugged in at the moment. But yeah, so that's basically my basically suggestion for the battery. And as I say, the company that made this one, the Power Extra, they do actually make a Sony one as well, but for some reason it wasn't identical. So as you can see, both of these, if you're looking at everything apart from the badge, it is perfectly identical. Let me just see if power output may not be the same. In fact, it is exactly the same. So 5 volt, 2.1 amps, 700 milliamps times 1, and I'm guessing if you've got 2 batteries plugged in, then it's basically giving you 500 milliamps charging rate. So both of these are completely identical, and literally the only difference is the fact that the name has changed from Power Extra to Energon. Power Extra model for the Sony camera and the Sony batteries isn't actually identical, so it doesn't actually have the USB-C and the micro USB charging ports. What that actually has is it has a built-in USB-A cable, I believe, and it has a micro USB on the top. But obviously I want the functionality where no matter where I go, no matter what type of cable I want to plug it in with, generally when it comes to charging, it's either going to be micro USB or USB-C.